Valentine sends me an email and writes, I'm going to England in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll attempt a small video for you from the Plymouth Steps. Best wishes, V or Valentine. So he just went to Prague, sent me some images, sent me a lot of very interesting information via email. This isn't going to be a Notnilc travel tours, but it kind of is. It's not though, because it's going to stray into some weird, creepy topics like what is it, the Golem alchemists would create, called the homunculus or something like that, and some other things that Valentine has shared. But Jeff will appreciate this. As usual, right off the bat, there's some weird reality sign or symbol, or not a glitch, but just this stuff always happens. Jeff, our main researcher, this happens to him like every single time he looks into something. So here's what happened. I'm thinking to myself, why does Prague have all the old world architecture intact? And I think, didn't I hear stories that Prague really wasn't bombed out or involved directly in World War II? So, of course, I start looking into it. And this is because of Valentine's email I had just read, this is the first thing I find. Valentine's Day, 1945, when the Americans bombed Prague. I was a little shocked. I mean, Valentine is not the most common first name. Matt, that ain't shit. There's a lot more here. Okay, if that didn't excite you too much, it's just okay. But Jeff will tell you this shit happens all the time. This is the first thing I ran into. Okay, here we go. Now I guarantee you, like everything I look into, creepy shit will start to come. I mean, it just happens every time. I have no idea what I'm going to research. This will take hours. As I said, I can't. Whatever I find will always be presented. With 5 videos a week or whatever, I don't have time to go do research and say, oh, there's no video there at the end. I know there will be an interesting video because Notnilc always delivers this shit to us. Look at this. And I will get to Valentine's email soon, and he sent us some personal pictures, and thanks for what he did for us. The 1945 bombing of Prague. The bombing of Prague occurred during the end of World War II, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1945. When the U.S. Army Air Forces carried out an air raid over Prague, the city was the capital of Czechoslovakia, blah, blah, blah. Now it was Czech Republic, now it's Czechia, the main city of the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. Here's the key. According to American pilots, it was the result of a navigation mistake. At the same time, a massive bombing of Dresden was underway. No, I checked it. It's about 150 kilometers north. And I'm no expert on where German cities lay or lie, but I'm like, how do you? It's not the twin cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, where you can make a mistake across the river. Dresden's not close to Prague, but there was look, Matt, you sound skeptical. Yeah, because I'm pouring it on pretty thick. I'm not sure the American Air Force could make a 150-kilometer mistake. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. Dresden, Prague ain't Tampa, St. Pete, where a little fog or mist might skew over the water skiing bay there, where the Goombas race the speedboats up and down. I mean, this is still about 3 or 4 mile. I mean, this is possible if the Nazis came over here in 1943. They said, oh, you bombed St. Pete. I thought it was Tampa. Okay, but this is ridiculous. Look at the distance between Dresden and Prague. Real quick, guys, this is just below Tampa in Florida. What does this have to do with Prague? Nothing, but it's too damn funny. The Bunker Hill Vineyard and Winery, let me tell you one thing. I'm no grape grower. I didn't bring the Merlot grape from Bordeaux, France over to California in 1920. But Florida and the swamps of Florida and the Everglades, this is not the place to grow wine. I mean, if you were to imagine a wine tasting in that place, first sip, here's our Chardonnay. You'd spit it out. I mean, you can't grow fucking grape in Florida. What the hell is this? Sorry. Either way, Prague must not have heavily been involved in World War II. Wasn't leveled like a lot of cities. There's just no way all this old world architecture could still exist. And in terms of what Matt, you just made a pretty terrible accusation. Okay, yeah, maybe I did, and I'm not going to research it. Well, what were they after? Why did they bomb it? I have no idea. All I know is there's something that's been around here called Notnilc for potentially thousands or tens of thousands of years. And the U.S. Army is on the org chart, sorry, it is under Notnilc. It does fall on the org chart under Notnilc. I have no idea what their intentions were. I could spend a lifetime researching it and never get to the bottom of it. But I'm sorry, I don't buy 150-kilometer mistakes I know they didn't have no LoJack and GPS and positioning, whatever, but bullcrap. 150-mile mistakes. If they made that sort of mistake, they wouldn't have been able to bomb one target throughout all of World War II. Don't buy it. Let's move on. Here in the email to me, Valentine writes, and this is his picture, by the way. This is the commemorative stone of the brothers Karl and Josef. Is it Kapek or Kapek? I'm not sure. I don't have their collective works downstairs. It's all new to me, Valentine. Kapek, I'm going to say. As you can see, it's a rather bleak presence, this monument to them, resembling a tombstone, with the names Karl Kapek on one side and Josef Kapek on the other, their names punctured crudely into the stone, seemingly as if by a rain of bullets. Bullets. Yeah, it's not the most flattering thing, is it, Valentine? Both brothers were artists and intellectuals, Karl a writer and journalist, Josef a sculptor. Both politically active and very critical of the wave of fascist Nazi ideology sweeping across Europe at the time. Karl was ordered by Germany to leave Prague and Czechoslovakia, but he refused and stayed put. He died of pneumonia at the end of December 1938, just a couple of months before the Nazi invasion of Czechoslovakia. His brother Josef died in a concentration camp in 1945. To this day, they're revered as martyrs, patriots, and spiritual heroes. The reason I mention it to you is because of one particular word that is so relevant to a lot of what's going on today and what many of your latest videos have been about, AI. What? AI? Related to one guy died of pneumonia before 1940 and the other in a concentration? What? Karl wrote a piece, a play, about soulless artificial human lookalikes bred just to work. He initially called them the workers, but on his brother Josef's suggestion, changed that to robota, R-O-B-O-T-A, robota, meaning unpaid serf or literal slave workers, and from this word is derived the modern word robot. Very interesting. Thank you, Valentine. Several segments of the animated movie Animatrix, which came out after The Matrix, but tries to fill in the backstories and provide canon on how the machines and the Machine City and The Matrix came to be. I didn't think that Animatrix was very good. Only a few segments interest me. But the robots and the machine AI was basically a slave for humanity. And then, of course, sentience, a sort of sentience developed. And there was conflict, and when the robots, of course, it's always humanity's fault, which it is. With Notnilc in control of it, I agree. I would typically side with the robots. I would always side against a Notnilc infrastructure. They're the ones that crafted the sick society. The robots make an appeal, like, we want to live with you. Of course, they're arrested. The robot city's bombed out, and that, of course, led to the war, which then brings us to the time period of when the first Matrix movie, 1999, presents, that moment in history. But the backstory of the Matrix, they should have included it in the Animatrix. It started with the original idea from this guy, Kapek. Thank you, Valentine. Never heard of him. But if there's a giant shrine to each brother in the middle of Prague, even though the name looks like it was carved via Tommy gun machine gun fire, the monument or the ode to these two would not be here if they didn't in some way serve Notnilc. Whether they serve Notnilc willingly or unwillingly, to me it seems like more like an H.G. Wells type thing. Ideas from writers and artists and those that can express themselves in a certain way, latched onto by the Notnilc, or the idea put out to the creative masses initially, the idea of robot, and then that the creative masses, or the creative beings in this reality, need to spawn that idea and bring it into fruition, whatever that means for Notnilc. Notnilc can't do it on its own. It needs creative generative beings. So it loves the H.G. Wells types, whatever his name was. It loves the Kapek or Kapek types. Matt, why don't you get the name right? If you're going to talk about these people, you're going to do this video, why don't you have a little respect? No, sorry. If there is a giant shrine to me, that in let's say in the middle of Washington D.C. someday, then that means I served Notnilc, and you shouldn't pronounce McKinley correctly. You say McKinley. My name would not deserve to be pronounced correctly if there was a shrine to me which says I served Notnilc. See how that works? Let me set the scene here for you for the next part of Valentine's email to me. Prague panoramic view from the Charles Bridge, East Tower. There's the Charles Bridge, one of the main tourist attractions in the city of Prague. So he says to me, one image I did find interesting crossing the Charles Bridge is this enormous banner on the facade of Kampa Museum advising people to prepare for darkness. Charles Bridge is a pedestrian bridge in one of the most busy places in Prague. Roughly 30,000 people, mainly tourists, cross it a day. There are people from all over the world. I imagine at least twice that amount of people cross the bridge next to it. It's even more busy, a constant stream of pedestrians. I guess he's talking about the bridge next to it. Cars and packed trams. Add that to Charles Bridge, and you have something close to 100,000 people or more a day that are being advised to, quote, prepare for darkness. Look, I hear some of you. That could be some sort of exhibit, right, in the museum. You said it could be, but does it matter? It's still this. The theme is the theme. Preparing for darkness. Does it matter? If it's a theme in the museum itself, that's even worse. Matt, I hear you laughing this off, but the world's a very strange and dangerous place. Aren't you preparing for darkness? No, I'm not. And whatever may come, I believe I am prepared for it. No, I don't want Nibiru to come around the side of the moon. No, and I don't want people running to the grocery stores and fighting over the last can of cat food. I don't want that, but I do, or I believe I have put this reality into perspective. It's a tiny little train stop. And the more we can keep, not to fool ourselves, to really see it for what it is, it puts everything in perspective. No, I don't want a Nibiru to come around the side of the moon, but I am not going to. I told you I don't prep anymore. I'm not going to prepare for darkness. I'm not going to be down there fighting over the last can of cat food if something were to happen. So be it. I'll move on to the next train stop. Look, I sat here for a few minutes, and this does bother me. If there's anybody listening to me that's actually in Prague from Philly or New York, go talk to these people in the museum. Talk to them the way that sheriff talked to Django and Dr. Fritz or whatever. Why are you going to come in and scare all these nice people? Why do you want to scare all these nice tourists going up and down your Charles Bridge with a sign like this? See, it's they don't speak English, by the way, guys. It says preparing for darkness in English. It's aimed at the tourists. They speak Czech. Let's not forget. It sounds like Russian. I don't understand a word of it. I don't understand one bit of it. But it sounds a little like Russian. It's called a Slovak language, whatever that is. They don't, in Czech, they don't, if it's that's preparing for darkness is not Czech. That's meant for the tourists crossing the bridge. Anybody from Philly or New York, go give this museum a talking to. Say, why you got to come into Bill Sharp's town, scare all these nice people? I want this sign down by the end of the day. You heard me. Want it down by the end. Don't make me come back here. This creepy ass image goes along with the next part of the email, which I'll read now. Prague has a precedence for this theme of robot. Remember, the origin of the word robot was spawned in Prague by those individuals we just covered. The artificial creation of life and concept of a more or less grotesque other. One such famous other is the Golem, a powerful Frankenstein-like creature created by Rabbi Loew, L-O-E-W, whatever, in the 16th century to protect the Jewish community in Prague. Created a golem? What the? Basically, the golem was created to do the dirty work, the muscle to do Loew's bidding. There are many stories about the golem and about how Loew himself, he died in 1609, but is still thought to be imbued with some kind of magic power. And every day, hundreds of people visit his grave in the old Jewish cemetery in Prague, many leaving little tokens and small stones and such on his tombstone. Here is a photo of his grave and tombstone. This is the photo that Valentine sent me. But I went over to Google Images just to see if I could find something with a little bit more detail or what's around back or whatever it may be. This must be a big deal because, as usual, those villains, those image licensing companies, the lowest of the low, scum of the earth, like Alchemy, license my image, and Getty Images, and iStock Photo, or maybe even Flickr. As usual, they're all over the image. They're even attaching themselves to images and photos that are over 100 years old, stuff they have no business attaching themselves to that they don't own. It's so disgusting. I mean, these companies like Getty Images are the lowest of the low. They really are. Anyway, so this must be a big deal. But you can see here, just like Valentine said in the email, those little stones left at the gravesite here. Some people probably leave coins for Rabbi Lowe. Well, what are they really doing? Obviously, in some way, why would they do this? They want to be protected by by his golem or whatever it represents. How about this? People, the dumbasses that leave little coins and little stones on the gravesite. It's like the witch, spare coin for your witcher. Put a little. Become a powerful spiritual being on your own, and you don't need no Rabbi Lowe's golem, whether it existed or not. You don't need, if Mel Gibson barges into your bedroom in the middle of the night on a horse, you don't need to pray to Rabbi Lowe and have his golem come and save you. Save yourself. Now, I don't know the history or the backstory behind this Rabbi Lowe. I don't know nothing. I don't know what he nicknamed his little golem, nothing. But I know Notnilc. So, for example, if somebody challenged me and said, Matt, if all you could do was make videos for 2 weeks and all you could talk about was Rabbi Lowe, do you think there'd be enough to make 2 weeks worth of videos? Do you think you'd have enough to talk about if you couldn't repeat topics and themes and each video had to carry its own new creepy theme? Take a look at the statue. Yeah, I think we could probably do a dedicated channel to Rabbi Lowe and there'd be enough for probably 5 years of topics. Not as much for the ultimate creepy characters, people like John Dee. That would be centuries of things you could cover and all his grimoires and all. But look at this character. Did you notice the dead woman hanging off his left arm? Oh, what did they tell the sculptor? You know, what was the pep talk given to the sculptor? The sculptor asked, well, should I present Rabbi Lowe in a very positive light where little children will just run up and smile and he'll glow? No, Mr. Sculptor, Mr. Helper, we want you to present Rabbi Lowe just like the Catholic Church presents Jesus Christ. Well, I don't know what that is. I've never been to I'm not Catholic. Well, Catholic Church presents Jesus Christ in the most bloodied, beaten up, on the verge of death manner, never in a positive light, hanging off the cross with big gashes. And I still have trauma from it. My family drugged me into those places as a kid. We want you to present Rabbi Lowe like that, but like 1,000 times creepier. Now, do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Well, should I hang a dead woman off his left arm? Now you're getting it. Exactly. You are the sculptor. You'll decide ultimately what will be done. But here's kind of what we want. If a mother pushes a child by in a stroller and the child happens to look up, we don't want that child to sleep for years. Bill, looks like there's yet another entity to put into the poster waiting for Matt in the light. But this one don't need to carry no bicycle chain. He'll be standing in front of his golem. The golem, Matt, the light will be so blocked by your enemies that you've made, you won't even be able to see the light. That golem will step up first and take the first swing before Anubis and all the other entities you pissed off. Gene Cernan will be pushed to the back, won't even get a punch in. Here's the thing. In this body, in this avatar, in this life, I am low. I accept it. I'm here to experience the low. I think that's why we're here. I'm not here to try to be more powerful. Like as soon as these videos are done, I don't go try to get these grimoires and try to make myself more powerful and practice this and that. I'm here to experience the low and embrace it. That's what I think life is for. I'm not trying to make this low bodiness some powerful thing that goes off to Hogwarts and just gets a Nimbus 2000. But see, here's the one thing that seems to be an immutable rule. At least it resonates with my inner tuning fork and inner knowing. If you ran around and do Notnilc bidding here, you might be more powerful than me here in this place. If Rabbi Lowe was around here, he could come get me tonight with his golem. But through the moment of death, when I connect back to my spiritual self, you think I'm gonna be less powerful than these minions or whatever these things that ran around and did the bidding for this reality system and Notnilc? Through the moment of death, connecting up to my true spiritual self, you think I'm gonna have to worry about these things here that facilitated the trick? Are you kidding me? Could say, here comes the golem. Poof. Down in its dust. Why? Because I said so. Look at the top right. People flood. It goes back for whatever. It goes back over 200 years, flocking around the grave. You know what? Protect yourself. Worry about yourself. You don't need to hang over no grave, position sandwiches and fresh baguettes over the stones. Protect yourself. You don't need no golem that probably never existed in the first place. Work on yourself, people. How pathetic is this? Now, nobody thought it possible, but Valentine's email to me leads us to even creepier places. He says, Before that, and also simultaneously with Rabbi Lowe, there was a slew of alchemists working in and around Prague on various creative projects. One popular project among alchemists of the 16th century and later more widely among artists in the 19th century were the creation of homunculus. 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 I don't know if I how to pronounce it. I don't grow homunculus here in my house. The homunculi were artificial beings created in a glass incubator, very grotesque but also kind of humorous. Homunculi were a varied bunch. One feature they had in common, this is true, you can look this up. Valentine's not making this shit up. I always wanted to look into what it's a homunculus. Various limbs and body parts were sized according to how much of their brain power they had and what was allocated to that particular limb or body part. So there could be a homunculus with a tiny body and enormous feet, or just one enormous ear or something. Ambition, greed, perversions, all the body parts represented something. I don't understand it. The many gargoyles and devil-like creatures adorning houses and churches here in Prague and elsewhere tell the same story. Now, it's hard to see if you're driving again, don't bother, or if you just missed it. Inside the little glass bauble or whatever, this alchemist is growing a little homunculus. He's growing a little body inside. Is that what the first episode of Sandman was all about, where they positioned Dream trapped inside that glass ball? Maybe that was some sort of allusion to the homunculus. So these alchemists, for some reason, wanted to create these little beings. Hey, alchemists of the past, have you ever heard the term perversion of the natural world? Why don't you just go get yourself some buttered bread and just enjoy nature or something? Why you gotta talk about a perversion of the natural world? Why you have to mess with all this shit? I'll just leave well enough alone. Go, I don't know, go find a woman or something and grow little creatures in glass baubles? You sick fucks. Add another one, Bill. Every single past alchemist that ever tried to grow a little homunculus or whatever in a glass bauble. Yeah, I don't know. Add thousands if you... Matt, you really are screwed at the... Yeah. I don't know. I still don't think so. I'll part those sons of bitches like the Red Sea. Get to my light. Matt, you're not supposed to go into the light. Oh, yeah, that's right. Every truther. Oh, don't go into the light. Yeah, I'm so tired of hearing that. Think that's what it's going to come down to in life? You can live your whole life doing everything you did in life. Every lesson you learn is just going to come down to one little thing. Should I go into the light or not? It's all going to come down to that. You really think? Does that really jive with your inner knowing? I hope not. This weird shit's even in Wikipedia. A homunculus, quote, little person, homunculi is the plural, so Valentine got that right, is a small human being popularized in 16th century alchemy and 19th century fiction. Well, is it fiction or is it real? Is it live or is it Memorex? It's both, per the way this reality operates. It has historically referred to the creation of a miniature, fully formed human. The concept has roots in preformationism. What the hell's that? As well as earlier folklore and alchemic traditions. The term lends its name to the cortical homunculus, an image of a person with the size of the body parts distorted to represent how much area of the cerebral cortex of the brain is devoted to it. What the hell? That Valentine alluded to that. I still don't understand that, but it doesn't matter. You know why? We don't play with these little homunculi things. We're not trying to spawn one in our basement. So what's the difference? Here's the truth drop that jumped out at me, guys. Their truth is given away all day long to anybody that can see. It says it twice. Right here it says a homunculus is a small human being, and then just below, a miniature, fully formed human. Interesting. So they're using the word human for this little creature formed in a little glass fishbowl, but then the person that's supposedly making it, or the alchemist, is supposed to be a human. See, this gives the word human away right here. They call us human. We are not human. Never use, that sounds low. No, that's rising above. If you use their terms, you're attaching gigantic weights to yourself that pull you down. Never use their terms as to what they say you are. Never use the term human or human being or Homo sapiens sapien, never use their genus and species. They're saying that little creature thing, that little sea monkey in the glass bauble or the fish bowl is a human, and they're telling you're a human. They're relating you to it. No, maybe some people are humans, and that little thing in the glass is a sea monkey's a human. But that tells me right now, if you're calling that a human, that proves even further that I'm not. I have my own terms. I don't know if you caught this in the image that Valentine provided earlier, but this is an alchemist that's somehow growing a homunculus in the ground. I mean, it's one thing to make it like a sea monkey, like I alluded to, in a glass ball or something. You add your ingredients in your witch's brew. But to grow it in the ground like a turnip or the first thing that comes to mind, wasn't there, like in Munchkinland, didn't some of those little bastards come out of the ground? Not the lollipop kids, but some of them came up out of the ground. Either that, or it reminds me a little bit like maybe he's trying to create, what is that thing in Willy Wonka, the Oompa Loompas. Are Oompa Loompas, are they supposed to be homunculi grown from the ground? And it looks like whatever's growing above it, you could smoke that leaf. Make sure you harvest the damn leaf and smoke it before you take your little being up from the ground. These alchemists were sick fucks. Again, just go just read a book or something. Enjoy the birds at the park. Why are you trying to disturb nature like this with this sick shit? Stop it. Just stop it. You'll never turn lead into gold. Stop it. That's not what it means anyway. But fuck that creepy-ish horse shit. Oh, God. Wait till I read you the indented paragraph. These sick sons of bitches. But I'm going to start with the second sentence above. The homunculus first appeared by name in alchemical writings attributed to Paracelsus. Sorry if I mispronounced it, Mr. Paracelsus. 1493-1541 in his De Natura Rerum. Outlines his method. He has his own method for creating homunculi. I hope you're not eating. That a sperm of a man be putrefied by itself in a sealed cucurbit for 40 days with the highest degree of putrefaction in a horse's womb. Ew, they said in Animal House. Or at least so. I thought Frank was really nice. Ew, or at least so long as it comes to life and moves itself and stirs, which is easily observed. Okay, let's stop. First of all, putrefaction is the rotting of flesh, of dead flesh. Keep that in mind. So you take the sperm of a man, it should be putrefied or rotted somehow, put inside a sealed cucurbit. Can I get one of those at Walmart? You put it in for 40 days with the highest degree of putrefaction. What's the highest degree? How long do you let the sperm rot? And then you shove it all up in a horse's womb. That's like the haggis that the guy in Armageddon talked about. You shove all that in a sheep's stomach. That'll put some hair on your chest. You shove it all in a horse's womb. Well, a live horse, a dead horse, at least so long as it comes to life and moves and stirs, which is easily observed. How is it easily observed if your little homunculus is stirring and saying, Mommy, Mommy, Dada, Dada, Dada? How do you know if it's in a horse's womb, dude? This makes no fucking sense. After this time, it will look somewhat like a man. It's in a horse's womb, and it's putrefied flesh. It ain't gonna look like nothing. After this, if it be fed wisely with the arcanum of human blood and be nourished for up to 40 weeks and be kept in the even heat of a horse's womb, a living human child grows therefrom, with all its members like another child, which is born of a woman, but it's much smaller. Oh my God. If it be fed wisely. Well, first of all, it's anybody looking to do this, you just give it a Big Mac. That takes care of the arcanum of human blood piece. Just check that one off the list. Big Mac is all that damn thing needs in the orifice of the womb. It gets all the sick shit right from McDonald's. And be nourished for 40 weeks. You got to feed that damn thing, and be kept in the even heat of a horse's. How would the poor horse, a living human child, grow? That's a human. There you go. There's your truth. That's a human, which means you are not. It says with all its members, it's like any other child. No, it's not like any other child born of woman. Hey, alchemist, you're going about this the hard way, guys. The easy way. It used to be easy for me. I'm very out of practice. You don't need to do all this crap, alchemist. You want to make a little thing that runs around and says, "Well, Daddy, can we have a catch?" Go get a woman and do it the old-fashioned way. Why you got to create something like this? Is every alchemist impotent? Is that the word? I don't know if I am or not. It's been a long time. If I want to have family, it might be homunculi for me. That might be my only way. But in the old days, the easy way, you go get a woman. You know, then what comes out, have a catch with it, raise it. You don't need to bastardize and adulterate the natural world, you sick fucks. Continuing with Valentine's email to me, the Museum Kampa, Kampa, is also notorious for having 3 enormous creepy sculptures of giant babies with a random number of fingers and a socket for a face, displayed crawling all over the front yard of the museum, which is a beautiful recreational park in the middle of Prague. So when you're out walking your dog or taking an afternoon stroll or Sunday picnic, you're greeted by this monstrosity hybrid of robot and homunculus, a hybrid of the technological robot, interesting, and the homunculus. See picture, which you're seeing here. Here's a couple more images. Guys, I don't know what to say other than we talk a lot about there's an entity here or several that are not like us, that's not like us, that's not the same as us. No matter what you want to call us, you know, a spirited being of a certain sort, these things are not like us. There's no one like us that would make something like this. I mean, Valentine said Prague, the people are friendly, and he did not allude that it has a dark feel, but there is something very dark, just from the little we looked at with Prague. I mean, no doubt about it. I'm glad Valentine went so I don't have to. I'm sure the buildings and the architecture's nice, but we just looked into 1% here with Rabbi Lowe and his Golem. No spirited being that's the same as you and me would create something like that, would make a sculpture like that. I don't know how this serves Notnilc or what this is, but just from the little we've seen, there's a lot of darkness associated with Prague, beyond Rabbi Lowe and his Golem running around at night. And I'll leave you with this. Prague, maybe more than any other city in the world, leaves us with this dichotomy of what we would call the impossible architecture, things that couldn't be built today, how they build that shit right alongside, well, you have maybe not too much of this in Prague, but you have a lot also of the horse shit, horrible buildings from the 60s and 70s. This is the National Art Collection building. See, that it's reality is saying something here. That's the building which it says underneath what I just read that houses the National Art Collection. So all over Prague, the impossible architecture, how they build that shit. I mean, Matt, don't you know it's Tartar? No, I never heard that before. I had no idea this was Tartaria. Can you tell me about that, please? And then right alongside the 60s and 70s horse shit. Guys, there's something with reality itself. Because this goes on in what you would call microcosm all over the world. At Penn State, okay? It doesn't have it's the campus, there's a lot of old buildings. It was 1895 or whatever when it got the land grant the same week the Michigan State got its land grant or whatever. So we battle them for the land grant trophy, some piece of shit. It's like a shovel glued to a piece of wood or something. It has old buildings, the old dorms from the 1920s, all brick. It is very nice. It doesn't, it's not going to look like something that would appear in the Louvre or in France, but Penn State, for example, has old buildings, and some of them are very, very nice and ornate from the 20s or 30s or 40s. And then the buildings from the 60s and 70s start to come. Absolute shit like this. So are we going to say that the first buildings at Penn State were Tartaria, or they were inherited? There was no university built here, Matt. This was here. See, no. They were built. What's going on at these university campuses, where you have the old style buildings at Harvard or Yale or wherever, right alongside. I mean, some of the the universities that just have billions and billions in their endowment have knocked down a lot of the buildings that came in the 60s and 70s and 80s that look like this, but a lot of them still have it. So the older buildings, it's like reality repeats a theme. It can't be understood between the reality bookends. The theme of college campuses with buildings is very similar to what we see, but it's not as magnified. The differences between the shit buildings from the 70s is not as the scale isn't as wide, or the sliding scale isn't as far apart. But it's the same reality trends. So nobody's going to tell me that the buildings built at a, in 1880 to 1910 at a university campus were inherited, or Tartaria. But why is that a similar theme to what we notice here? It's just not as exaggerated. I'm opening up a whole new can of worms. We'll do this in another video. No, I don't. I don't buy that all these cities were inherited and everything was here and it was all perfectly covered up. And no, sorry. In observing reality, I look for trends. And the trends all across, whether it be the macrocosm of what they call the cosmos down to what they call the quantum, similar trends and themes repeat at all levels, even with the architecture and the differences between the design of buildings. So, yeah, you can get caught in the reality trick if you want. Say, we'll figure it out someday. Somebody had to have built these buildings. So at some point, I say, why? Why did somebody have to have built the building? Well, of course somebody built them. Why? Why? Well, because of course somebody had to. Why? Reality might only have been here 200 years. We don't know. What we do know is reality in general plays a trick, and hopefully you're done falling for it. Thanks for listening.